All right, you're in full costume. You're playing these awesome characters. Tell me what you're feeling. What is the emotion you're feeling?
I'm feeling many emotions, and you're feeling not so many.
Well, my character doesn't necessarily feel emotions. She's more of a clinical thinker and like how can I make this person feel something to achieve my goal? I think that she sees human beings as feelers, and so she tries to use their emotions to guide them in different directions. But I was feeling very powerful. I don't know.
See? No, that's very true. I have a follow-up for that for you. I'll just ask you now. Fun to play the villain?
But I wouldn't say it's more fun to play a villain than a hero. But it's fun to play a character that has different sides of doing negative things. You know what I mean? Like she also at the same time she's empowering Jean, and that's fun.
So same question for you. What are you feeling when you're all done up and ready to go?
I'm feeling quite empowered, for sure. I think, putting on that coat and, well, it's a mixture of emotions, really, because this movie isn't about Jean feeling empowered at all. It's her feeling out of control and confused and disorientated. But I can't help it, like putting on that coat and knowing that, like, I'm playing, like, the most powerful mutant. You can't help but feel incredibly empowered. And especially when, you're just sticking your hand out and doing things and the special effects team are throwing things everywhere and you feel powerful, yeah.
How do you get ready for roles like this? I mean, this movie's very physical. So was there a lot of physical training for it? Was there a lot of comic research? The fight scenes in this one is just incredible.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think for both of us, the way we fight, it wasn't necessarily like hand to hand. It's like, boop.
So no physical training for this.
All right, I was told, and I've heard through other interviews, somebody in this room was a big prankster on the set.
Her too.
Okay, you did something with the Macarena to James.
Yeah, he got to dance the Macarena.
Macarena on wires.
When are we going to get the video of that? I think it was recorded, right?
Yeah, Simon probably has it somewhere.
Because later I'm going to go talk to them. I'll say, dude, you're going to do the dance and I want to see it.
Yes!
Well, he just did it on TV in Moscow.
So you won't get the exclusive.
Do me a favor.
But...
Start playing it as you walk into the room.
Oh!
I should play on your
side.
side.
Now you got my challenge. All right, great to see you both.
You
when
too.
I first started covering film for Fox 26 in Houston, one of my first interviews was Days of Future Past.
Oh, wow.
With you both, and you might remember this, you guys acted out X-Men the musical.
Mutants on ice. I love it.
Nice.
The next one, perhaps. Maybe we can do it on ice. Make a musical out of it. I'd love that.
A musical of X-Men.
Set in the
Yeah.
80s.
Let's talk about the movie. It's awesome. I saw
Give
it
me your
last night.
metal! And you'd be like,
Let me mess with your mind.
Yes,
I'm not going to
good.
get
I
into
like
this.
that. Get inside the brain of that man.
Don't give away all the good stuff, mate. We've been
Freeze
working
him
on this
now,
too long.
Charles.
Don't give away our stuff.
Don't
we're
let
not
him
ready
move.
yet.
They're going to kill us all. We cannot trust them.
You haven't even done any part of the musical. Don't even do your response.
I can't believe we're having the same argument. We're only doing it differently because it's a song. Do you think anyone will notice?
Remember Cuba.
We'll always have Cuba.
Dude, I went back and watched the interview, and I was dying laughing.
Oh,
Excellent.
So here we are.
Tough one to live up to.
I know
Well-
it's going to be real tough.
I do have a message for you from Jessica Chastain. No, wait.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay. Do you know the dance, by the way?
No, not really.
He does.
I mean, I don't. I'm just like, I can't stop myself.
I don't really know much more than that.
Anyway.
But yeah, that was a dark day for me.
That's what she said to walk in and just play that for him.
Yeah, I'm doing this like scene where I'm physically humiliated by a vastly superior power and by a person who I regard as a sister-stroke daughter in Jean Grey. And I'm like doing this really intense physical thing and all that, and then she starts playing that and marionetting my body because I'm on wires, and I have to dance the Macarena in the middle of this.
That's how you knew it, though. You still remember it.
Yeah, it's in my bones.
What is it like to jump back into these characters? How do you feel when you jump back into these roles?
I feel good. I feel it feels in a nice way familiar. So it's, this being the fourth film, it's sort of, we both explored different times in each of the characters' sort of life. You know, so with Eric, it was like the beginning, sort of finding Magneto for me in First Class. You know, the meeting of Charles and Eric. The second one, then, is sort of like he's a prisoner who sort of, breaks out through the help of my good friend, and he becomes like this sort of anarchist, terrorist type character, megalomaniac. And then in the third one, he's a family man, and and this one, he's kind of, he's found Genosha. He's sort of found this sort of, as compromising as he can be, he's sort of, the battle against humans is sort of over for him now. He's managed to get this place where mutants are safe, and they sort of have a law written by themselves and rules that they follow, and like I say, it's about as content as I think you could find him.
James, what's the biggest thrill playing this role, this character?
This time round, I think getting to expose his flaws more than anything. I mean, you could argue that he exposed his flaws in Days of Future Past, but rather than it being his flaws, he was just damaged, do you know what I mean? Whereas this time he's got no excuse. He's not damaged, he's just messing up. And I think his vanity, which I've always wanted to play with ever since Days of Future Past, I put a bit of it in there, is really fueling the mistakes that he's making and causing the havoc that goes on in the movie.
Do you realize how many times we brought Days of Future Past back today? This interview was my first interview, first time I met you both. Now we're talking about that. I like that.
Interviews of Future Past.
Interviews of Future, there's the musical. Well, I'll write the music next time we see each other. I'll do it. Since they're calling it at the end, supposedly, wink, wink, give me one word to describe your experience doing these films.
Fun.
I thought it was a good noise. I was going to say life-changing, but that's 2 words.
We'll call it one today.
What is a one-word life-changing thing?
There
is a word out there. Just shows my lack of vocabulary.
You put it down.
Huh?
Transformative?
Transformers?
Yeah.
Robots? No. Life-changing.
Great to see you all again.
Hi.
Good to see you, my fellow Texan.
You too.
What is it like when you put these costumes on? What do you feel? Is it exhilarating? Is it...
Suffocation.
Hot.
Okay, well, not the answer I was going for, but that's honest. I like that.
They are hot.
It does feel good. I mean, you feel like a superhero. The costumes this year are cool. They're
Super cool.
really minimal and like practical.
Yeah. Some of them in the past, I think, have been pretty bulky and like hard to move around.
Yeah.
But
I was in heels for a
these are
long
good.
time in Apocalypse. That was rough on the balls of my feet.
Yikes.
Well, I was asking the director if he had new toys, and he's telling me about all the things, and now I'm learning about the costumes actually have improved since the movies. Are we sad that it's the final chapter, or so they say?
Well, we don't know. We don't know if it's the final chapter. We all know that we love each other and that we see each other as often as we can, and we're one big happy family. And if we get to do another one, that's incredible. I've still got my fingers crossed that I get to share a screen with these 2 sexy men right next to me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Whoa,
yeah, you liked
Tiger.
it.
This is so
Yeah, they liked it.
What is the biggest thrill? We'll start with you, and then we'll work our way down. The biggest thrill about playing this character?
Probably getting to be on the other side of the visual effects, like sort of being behind the scenes of it all and making that all come to life. I think I'm such a huge fan of visual effects and Blu-ray behind the scenes features. So like it's really cool to see it all happen and be a part of it.
Same question for you. The biggest thrill about playing this role?
I think it's an actual physical thrill. Like when I am flying, if I'm on this harness and they're zipping me and I'm going like 5 to 10 miles an hour, depending on the camera angle, it's exhilarating, it's enthralling, and I feel like I'm weightless, which is also really nice.
Ty?
I mean, I would say seeing it all come together. Like, seeing a Quicksilver sequence come together when you spent 28 days doing,
The same thing.
1 minute of super Quicksilver time.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, that's really cool because I mean, even though you work on these movies and you're really close with the story, and you watch a lot of previs, you can kind of see the raw makings of what the VFX might look like. But when you actually see the polished final version, it's still really surprising and really cool.
Am I right when I say it seems like there's more fight scenes in this one? This one's more, okay, you're nodding. Let's talk about filming those because I think they're a little more intense as well.
Yeah.
Was that an adrenaline rush to get through the fight scene? The train, and I'm not ruining anything, but
Right.
there's a train scene. I'm like, whoa, this is
It's awesome.
Crazy,
Dream
yeah.
scene is crazy. I mean, they go nuts with it, with the special effects, and it's so cool to see, like, you know, all the baddies and all the goodies, you know, everyone fighting, and it's really fun. I had a lot of fight training. This was my first, like, hand-to-hand combat as Storm, playing opposite Red Lotus, who is this, Andy Stalin, he's fantastic, stuntman, but also actor, and just beating him up every day was like a lot of fun.
I'm sure.
Like, I felt like I could actually do some damage, even though I never really touched him.
I was gonna say, I know you're acting, but it's somebody accidentally sometimes go and like, oh, I'm so sorry.
No, yeah, when you actually hit someone in the face, you're like, oh, or like there was a moment in which I like tackle Andy and we call it a pound and ground or ground and pound or whatever, ground and pound, when you like really you check him, and I accidentally threw my knee into his nether regions, and he was out. Like, for a good 30 seconds, he was like, don't look at me. And I was just like, I'm so sorry, but also, yeah, I can do damage.
How are you, sir?
I'm great.
Fantastic job.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me.
Don't believe it's your directorial debut.
That's very kind. Well, listen, here's the thing. Like, I have apprenticed, basically, been in film school for the last 15 years with some of the greatest teachers in the world. I got to work with Ridley Scott on The Martian, so I'd watched Ridley, Jim Mangold on Logan, Ken Branagh on a couple films, obviously Bryan Singer, Matthew Vaughn, Guy Ritchie. I've worked with some of the greatest directors in the world, and so like I've got to watch them work. So by a little bit of osmosis and a lot of observation, I've picked up a few tricks over the years.
But what a film! I mean, were you nervous a little bit before? I mean, obviously the confidence is there as you take the project on. But in the beginning, were you like, okay, this is going to be a big project?
Well, here's the thing. I'm nervous on every movie I work on.
Okay,
So
good.
like I begin from a place of baseline anxiety. On this movie, you know, I had such a clear. In truth, I had in my mind such a clear picture of what I wanted the movie to feel like. Not necessarily even to look like. That's discovery, and that's a lot of preparation. But as I was writing it, the tone of the movie, the intensity of the movie, the fact that it was going to be a more intense X-Men movie, a more raw, real X-Men movie than we've had before, all of that I felt really clear about. And so I think as an artist or filmmaker or whatever, when you're clear about something, you have a certain confidence. That said, you know, even though I've been on many, many movie sets and I've spent most of my life for the last 20 years on movie sets, I've never been the person that calls action and cut. I've never been the person that makes the final decision. And so, yeah, going into the first day, there was a little bit of jitters the night before. I was nervous, like sort of first day of school, even though, you know, I've been in a lot of these movies and this cast, I pretty much cast everybody that's been in this cast, some of them when they were kids, like I cast Jennifer Lawrence in X-Men First Class when she was 17. But yeah, it was a new challenge, and one because I was so supported by a great cast, and I had cherry-picked also my favorite like DP, editor, all of the people over the years. My DP won the Oscar for Avatar. My editor won the Oscar for Dunkirk, and what was Chris Nolan's editor. I really cherry-picked from my favorites over the years, so I had a great support network.
Thank you for sharing that story with me. Awesome.
Yeah,
it's
thanks.
fascinating to hear stuff like that, and we don't get that behind the scenes kind of story like that. Okay, you've written the other ones as well. How do you sit down and write stories like this? Do you sit at a desk? Do you have a coffee mug? You're looking over a field? That's where I'm going with that question, because that's when I'm thinking of questions to ask him. Like, what is his setting?
That's cool.
How do you start?
That's cool. I mean, I spend more time thinking about the movie than writing the movie. Meaning, like, I spend probably 3, 4, 5 months just making notes. And I'll make notes in loose notebooks, I'll make notes on a napkin, I'll make notes on a piece of paper. It has no structure to it. And at the end of that 3, 4, 5 months, I'll turn that into a very loose outline, and then I will start writing. And when I write fast. I write by hand on blank white pieces of paper, front and back, the entire script, probably in about 3 or 4 weeks, sitting on a couch. Never work in an office. Office feels like too much pressure and too sort of professional. I work on a couch, sometimes at home. Sometimes I'll go to like a hotel just to kind of hole up in a cave. And once that piles up to being done, then I will input it into the computer. And that inputting process is like 1 or 2 days. And then I just look at it, and it's always like 160, 175 pages, so like about a third too long. And then I spend 4 or 5 days just cutting it down. So I will rip out 40, 50 pages of the script. And I think that's for me at least, a really useful process because you boil it down to what is essential because you have to get rid of certain pages, even if you love those scenes. So that's my writing process. It's like wildly inefficient. It's very bizarre. I don't advocate it for anyone, but it works for me.
My friend, thank you for being honest with me today.
Thank you. Great
Fascinating.
questions. Yeah, really good
conversation.
questions.
Great to meet you.
You too.
What are you most proud of with these films?
Boy, that's a great question. I mean, I think it varies. You know, you fight to try to find unique stories to tell. We've got an incredible cast of actors and performers. But I think on this one, what I'm most proud of is Simon. Taking the step as a first-time director, it's a big job to take on. I mean, he'd had a lot of experience around the movies, and obviously he's been writing them for a long time and knew the cast, but I was really proud of the way he stepped into this role because it's not an easy thing to do for a first-time filmmaker.
What a project to take on.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more toys in this one. It feels like when I say, because I love all of these films, and we'll get to the sad part here in a minute about the ending, the final chapter, or is it? But I feel like there's more toys in this one, am I right?
Yeah, I guess there are. I mean, we certainly tried to both challenge the characters in ways we hadn't before, emotionally and psychologically, but as well as in terms of the action, in terms of all the set pieces and the use of their powers. And that lends itself to some toys.
Which make it really cool. All right, so here's the question.
Yeah.
Is it really the end? Should we be sad? I know it's the final chapter.
I don't know, to be honest. Now this is kind of in Disney's hands, and specifically in Kevin and Marvel's hands, as to what will come next. My guess is you will see more X characters, but I don't know whether, that will be, a whole new iteration or it'll be an incorporation of this into their larger Marvel universe. I'm not sure.
I would love to get into your head right now and see what you're planning, what you're scheming, what you're hoping that happens. So thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
As a producer, what got you into film?
God, I just grew up loving the experience of watching movies and the power of them, and sort of fantasized about playing a role in this somehow. And ironically, it started out as an actor in New York, and got to work on enough sets that I came to realize I wanted to be on the other side of things, and then chased that after college, and found my way into the larger field, and just kept going.
Do you ever sneak into a theater? I've always wanted to ask a producer this. Do you ever sneak into a theater and just watch the audience?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. It's one of the more interesting things to do. It's actually not to watch the movie. It's to watch the audience and see if they're responding to the things you hoped they would, or discovering things you didn't know they would. It's a really powerful experience because you spend so much time with a small group of people, reviewing the footage, rewatching the cut. When you first see it with an audience, it comes alive in a way that's unlike any other part of the experience. And you like it or not, you learn a lot. You can feel it. And so, yeah, when films come out, there's almost nothing better than sneaking in and getting to watch and see the faces and see, their responses to various moments in the film.
What a great way to end it, my friend.
Great question.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.